Since you had your breakthrough, what's been your biggest week in revenue, or what's been your biggest week in profit so far?
Last 7 days would be probably the biggest. So 72,000 revenue last 7 days and 28,000 profit. So about 66% ROI.
Walk us through like the emotions of how that feels, like refreshing your screen right now and seeing that amount of money.
It's just incredible, man. Like it's like how many people are going to be experiencing this, like doing these types of days. Yeah, it just feels like, getting to the top of the mountain, man.
Yeah, and now that you've had a winner, how confident are you moving forward that like you're always going to be able to find a winner?
I'm supremely confident. I just know I could do it again. It's not even a thought or a belief. I just know I'm going to do it next time. When confidence turns into conviction with evidence, I don't think there's any better return that the program can give you.
Vin, how's it going, man?
What's up, man? It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to hear about your journey and everything, and it's awesome to finally get to speak to you, man.
Yeah, brother.
A little bit about yourself, man. Whereabouts are you from? Like, give us a little rundown of your story.
Yeah, brother. I'm from New Jersey. I'm 32. Before the course, I was doing drop shipping. So I was in that game for a little bit, just struggling though, man. Like the margins were terrible. It was like 5%, 10%.
Mm.
And, but I was at a point where like I ran a decent amount of money through payment processors. So I was like, shit, like I did like 100 grand in a year and it was nothing because it was $5,000. So the margins were terrible. I was dealing with customer emails like every morning, just flipping out. The product wasn't even getting there half the time. Like the products were terrible, no quality control, was working 24/7. So yeah.
Wow. And then, so coming off the back of that, doing drop shipping, making 100K in like revenue and then only 5K profit, like what do you do? What are you at today? Because I know that you're absolutely crushing it right now. What's your sales at today right now?
Yesterday was 15 grand. Today it's probably at like 6 or something like that. I
Yeah,
would guess
because
the
I mean
ROI
it's
is around like 60.
yeah, halfway through the day as well. So yesterday you did a 15K day and you shared me a screenshot, which we can throw up on the screen. And you did, what was that, around 5K profit, 6K profit?
6. Dude, the biggest thing was like, you know what? I love why I was in the drop shipping in the first place is I love the marketing. Like I just love writing ad copy. I love creating videos, the creative part of me. Like I'm a musician, right? That's been my thing for like 15 years. I didn't mention that, but like that's why I kind of got into that end and like not like other like kind of heavier business stuff or sales or stuff like that. So I was like drawn to it for that reason, but all the other nonsense in the margins, I was like, screw this. But then when I saw like a video on YouTube talking about what you guys were doing, and it was so fresh, just the AI method and the robots, was like, this is like really interesting. It was different. And I was like, oh, this is my gateway though. Like I could just focus on the ads. Like I was kind of looking for this, like in general, but like I didn't know like it was gonna be like just given to me like that. It like really worked out like on silver platter, bro. And
Well,
it was
that's
so
that's
cool.
a thing. This, like, I mean, if anyone's looking to get in the online space, the method we teach specifically is like the purest way. I think the purest and most simple way to make money online, because ultimately the act of like creating an ad and like the act of marketing is what generates money. And being an affiliate marketer, you just have to focus on that one thing that makes money. You don't have to worry about fulfilling the product. You don't have to worry about testing, 50 to 100 different products like drop shipping. You don't have to worry about servicing clients. Literally, you'd be a one-man team and you could be making, easily, as like $6,000 a day with a one-man team, not spending that much time.
Totally.
So,
I mean, it's just designed like the 80/20 of affiliate marketing is like the whole business. This is the best, bro. It's not even close.
well, that's actually very true compared to other business models where you're doing 20% of the work to make, I mean, you were doing
Mm.
80% of the work to make 20% of the money. With affiliate marketing, you have to do 20%
Literally
of the work
20%.
to make 80% of all the profit.
And it's literally the margin that we're talking about.
Since you had your breakthrough, what's been your biggest week in revenue and what's been your biggest week in profit so far?
Last 7 days would be probably the biggest. So 72,000 revenue last 7 days and 28,000 profit. So about 66% ROI.
72,000 revenue and what was that? 32,000 profit?
28, like 29.
$28,000 profit in a single week. Wow, man, congratulations. Honestly, I'm sure that feels like honestly incredible. Walk us through like the emotions of how that feels, like refreshing your screen right now and seeing that amount of money.
No, so like it was honestly super crazy, when it first started happening, and I just couldn't believe it. I was calling everybody I know, just getting the reactions and just like the screenshots and stuff. And like, I've been doing this for a while. We can get into that in a little bit, but like, just some people were just part of my journey, just offline, just like really seeing the fruits of my labor now, and it's like really cool. But honestly, man, like, and it is incredible. I really don't want to like kind of like shortchange it, but you get used to it. Like you really kind of get used to it. Like it's amazing how quick you can plunge through the fear of being like, oh shit, like I got to spend like $1,000 today, then 2,000, and then three, and then five, and then like you kind of go through that. But like if you could just get over those hurdles, like if you have a winner, I think the mindset and just pushing through the fears is the biggest obstacle. And you just experience these little like peaks and like troughs of like personal growth. And you just plunge through them, and you just kind of get used to it, and it's like a new standard. And it's a new norm, and that's kind of what I'm experiencing now. And now I just want to push it. Like I was telling you before, I was like, bro, I'm gunning for diamond right now. That wasn't
Yeah.
in my thought process at all, like, before the beginning of the year. Like I had some success with Alphaline too, but it was like I was not thinking like this. But like when you start like hitting them, like your identity kind of moves with it. Like it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's like breaking those glass ceilings. And I think a really interesting perspective as well for everyone is when you first sent me your screenshots, you're doing like, I think it was like $3,000, $4,000 days.
Tops
Yeah.
one
And
to
I
three. I
told
think three
you,
was the high.
yeah. And I was like, and then I was like, just scale it up.
You like tap the vein, bro.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
like,
So
okay.
yeah, so because that's the biggest thing. It's, like we always preach, like you just need to find that one winner. And when you do have that one winner, people, I think, yeah, there's that sort of limiting belief, like, oh, I'm gonna have to spend more. And it's like, yeah, you were sort of hitting that
Yeah.
3 to 5K mark, and then or that 3K mark, and then I was just like, yeah, tap the vein, scale up, follow the methods that we teach, and like, boom. Then you sent me another screenshot, 10K day, 12K day, 13K day, 15K day. But like, let's go back a little bit. Before drop shipping, before affiliate marketing, what sort of jobs were you working? What were you sort of doing back then?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I touched on it for like a second before, but I was a musician. I mean, I still do that. I'm a drummer. I've been doing that for about like 15, 20 years. And that was my passion. That's what I loved growing up. I just started doing it super early. It was like a gift. And, just playing in bands was my thing, really. And that was like my main kind of thing. I was like, I went to college, backup plan, but I really wanted to nail that. And like we had a really good band, like kind of at that time. And we're actually like on the cusp of like signing a deal. Like it was about to like really change everything for the four of us. But I mean, like band, it's people, it's multiple people, it's multiple situations, circumstances, personalities, everything, right? So like right before that, like half the members like ended up quitting. And it was one of those like groups, it kind of like wasn't replaceable. I don't know, it's kind of a unique thing. Maybe it was just we decided that we shouldn't continue without like everybody. So that kind of like set in. And then I was like kind of pursuing that on the side. And this was like a few years after I graduated college. I'm 32 now, so this was like a little bit ago. And I was out of the game, like trying to like get jobs for a period of time because I was just pursuing that. So I had a degree, but like it just wasn't the best answer. Like 6 or 7 years later, like why do you have no work experience? Basically, we're just trying to pursue that. So you're like in this weird position. So
Yeah.
what did I do? I just got a sales job, and then like that's what everybody else would do, right? It's the only way to kind of really make money. Like I guess like offline, I sold like everything. I sold cars, I sold music equipment too, and then I got a job in the bank after that. This was all now. This is kind of recent. This is like 3 years ago. So it was just crazy. It was just ridiculous. Like just going up to people, just trying to sell them like credit card and like bank products and try to get them in the bank. Like it was like heavy sales, whatever.
And you were
It
selling
was like a
like
good
that
experience.
in the
Right?
banks, or were you selling like in malls?
So,
Or
no, it's like in the supermarket. I don't know if they have them by you, but like over here, some of them, like the main like supermarket, ShopRite, whatever they have over there. You're just trying to go out there and like basically just get people in there. But like that's what I was doing. And like the money was terrible. I mean, like I ended up doing well and kept getting promoted, and I got moved into like a real bank and then like another position, whatever. But definitely was never what I wanted to do. So that's when I got into the online stuff. So I was like exposed to a little bit of like agency stuff, Amazon, drop shipping is kind of what I ended up picking, and then like kind of taking me to this point. But I want to show you, I got to tell you something funny. So before all this is like 5 years ago, 2018, I saw a video of Gary Kramer. So I hit him up on like Instagram DM. I was like, yo, like the profit engine, like it just closed. And I was like, what, can you let me in? Whatever. Like I'm making this at my job. I feel like I'm worth more than this. Like reading it, I was like so desperate. When I saw the Profit Singularity kind of promo, I was like, you know what? I'm not missing the boat this time. I want to be involved with this guy's doing. I mean, I jumped in full steam, and it took some time, but I'm here now.
let's talk about that process, because you've obviously scaled up. You hit your biggest day yesterday of 15,000. What was it? 15,500.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of this current campaign, just walk us through like the timeline so someone can realize like how fast, once you hit that winner, how fast you can scale up.
Yeah, for sure. So I was following the evolution method, I make 3 different scripts and then start playing with the hooks. And the opening scene, it was actually the first scene that was the best. And then that was kind of the point where I started seeing like, like really good ROI on like the first day. And then the second day was like a little bit worse. I think it was like 30%, but I was like, I'm still making money. And I kind of looked at the total ROI and it was like, I'm still good. Third day had another good one. I was like, okay, this is good. So then now let's start to increase the budget a little bit. And that's what I was doing. I was just increasing it probably by like 50%. And that got me to the results where I was like 80 to 100% ROI doing like 1 to 2 and 3K days was my best. And that was the point where I hit you up. And I was like, I didn't really know what to do from there. And you were just like, hey, like try to tap the vein or test more opening scenes. So I just duplicated my winning ad twice. So I just played with each vein at about like $500 in spend. And then I duplicated the same campaign and then I did it 3 more times. So I had like 6 totals to just see like the absolute best vein or veins. And I'm scaling like multiple of them now.
Yeah. So then when you're doing, 3 to 5K days, you duplicate your ads out and then run us through. So the next day, what you increase your budget to $5,000 a day, you're making like 10,000. Like run us through that sort of process.
Everybody has a different method and they don't really matter because they all work. But I just wanted to make sure that if I was going to scale something vertically, I didn't want to be tied to one campaign. And if something happened there, so I just had multiple campaigns with multiple veins inside each. And then I set like a limit. And just like when you're scaling, you could be more comfortable to do this. I wouldn't recommend this if you're validating and testing, but I was spending about $500 per vein to see, okay, like this is the better vein for sure. And then I would pause the other ones and I would just like scale the one or more with the best ROI. So I think it ended up being like 4 campaigns. 2 of them were basically the same. So duplicates. It was Broad 55 plus USA only. And then I started testing like 35 and 45 in their own separate campaigns, same setup. And I just started those at like about 1,000 a day. But to answer your initial question about the actual scale, like per campaign, they started about like 1,000 for the scale. And then I went to 2, basically like $1,000 bumps. And I went to 3 and then I went to 4. So I'm spending 10 now. 2 of them are at 4. And then the other ones that I'm like testing still technically at 1,000 a day. The other 2 ad groups, 35 and 45 up, are 1,000 a day. And then I'll just continue to kind of scale those the same way that I did the other big ones. But I wanted to make sure that the ones that are performing and giving me the best ROI are taking the most of the budget from the account. So it's kind of like 80-20. It's not really that exact split, but
Yeah. Well, did you ever expect that you'd be, back in the music days when you were like, in the band, did you ever expect that you'd be making this sort of money?
no. Well, okay, so like yes, but like in some totally like out there kind of like, oh yeah, when we make it big, we'll just have all these mansions. Like there was no actual like path to it. Like I definitely couldn't have like walked you back like how that would happen, but like I guess that's a just real strange kind of game just in general to make that work. So
Well, you're more of like a passionate, artist type of guy. My brother is also very similar to you. My brother is also really interested in music. He DJs, he used to play guitar a lot and also wanted to be in a band. It was also, he had the same switch that you had. And it's like, all right, in order to like pursue your passions, you have to make money. Like everyone has to make money in this world, which is just like, an unfortunate truth. And so in order to like be able to pursue your passions, you need to be able to find a business that gives you the freedom to make, a lot of money and the freedom to pursue the things that you actually want to pursue. So whether that's music, whether that's, art, whether that's like family, whether it's friends. So now that you've done that, now that you're making this money, like how much time is it taking you to like sort of test these campaigns, run these ads?
I'm struggling to fill the calendar, like to do stuff. Like I'm just trying to do stuff and there's nothing I could do because it takes 10 minutes. It takes like no time. You're just kind of managing ROI, but you're even managing ROI based off of like 3 days or 7 days. It's a longer game now. It's not like intraday stuff so much. You just want to make sure nothing blow up.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, that's like the best problem to have because you're spending all the money that you have because you're making so much money. Like you made $28,000 in a week. And once that then comes back into your bank account, then you start spending more. And that's where this like snowball cycle happens, where you can start scaling to like these massive days.
Yeah, most of my time is going to actually, now that I think about it, most of my time is going to calling banks and just getting them to like, hey, like this isn't fraud. Like, please push this through. It's just like more of that than anything. And that's literally just taking the majority of the time because sometimes it's easier said than done. But yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a great problem to have.
Yeah. So what else? What have you been doing with your free time now? Like, how's your life? How's your life been now, apart from spending a couple, an hour or two a day?
I mean, to be honest, I think I'm doing a pretty terrible job of just enjoying it. Like I'm just so used to just working.
Yeah, but it's also like you become, it's addicting and it's exciting and it's actually fun. It's like a sort of becomes a little bit like a video game. You do stuff that's fun. You create these ads, you launch these ads, you test these ads, and then you get immediate feedback and you start, seeing thousands of dollars come into your bank account every day.
Yeah, and it's a new experience. Like I've never experienced what leverage feels like.
Yeah, could you touch on that a little bit more about like how it feels to have that sort of leverage and power over your time and
Yeah,
money?
of course, it's like earth shattering. I'm 32 now, so like literally since in the womb till now, I've been trained and I've been programmed one way, and that's I must travel somewhere or work from home or whatever, and work for a set amount of hours and receive a fixed paycheck. There may be bonuses, whatever. It's not important. That's you're tied to that, and it's so deep rooted in your programming and your subconscious that like you really need to experience a massive identity shift. I've always been saying I think business is the ultimate personal development game. I think there's no better thing. You're going to go through everything. But it's so valuable. Like the money is just going to be a byproduct of who you need to become to then earn this. Yeah, it's just like it's a mindset shift. It's just a program change and just trying to make the unusual usual and just have that be the new standard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you need to break those glass ceilings and realize that you don't need to work a job. As you said, you don't need to travel. You don't need to spend time. You don't need to, you don't need to trade 1 hour for like 30 or $40 or whatever an hourly paycheck is. You could spend 1 hour in a day and make $10,000 in a day.
It feels like cheating. That's the problem. And like cheating doesn't feel good. Like you're just like, wait, this is like a hack. Like this can't be like real. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's just not well. You feel like you need to work to earn it. And then sometimes you hit up, from your parents growing up, obviously. And it does take hard work. But like you're just trained to just like have that bias.
Once you like hit your first winning campaign and you realize like, wow, I could just like recreate this process like over and over and just always be making, always be making like minimum like 2 grand a day. And like at the highest, I could be making, 30 grand a day.
That's the biggest thing. I think in general, I think when confidence turns into conviction with evidence, I don't think there's any better return that the program can give you.
Yeah. It's like, most people don't believe it until it happens to them. You know what I mean? But in
Mm.
saying that, everyone that's watching this believes that they can do it, otherwise they wouldn't be watching it. And if you're watching this right now, you're in the right spot because you need to build that confidence by watching all of these stories. You need to build your confidence by watching Vin's story, by hearing like his experience with the method and like realizing, it's the best thing. It's like, why not me? Why can't I?
Mm.
That's like what you need to say. It's like, why can't I? If Vin's done it, if all these students have done it, why can't you do it? It's really just about implementing the process and like, taking massive action, staying laser focused and never giving up and realizing that, I always say it, but, every failure, quote unquote failure is a stepping stone to success. Like every ad that you launched that didn't perform, you said you tested 9 hooks. Every one of those hooks that you tested could have been a point where you just gave up, could have been a point where you just like, nah, I'm just going to give up, but each one of those hooks led you to this ad now, which now you're doing like, $5,000-$6,000 days profit.
I was actually watching something funny. Grant Cardone had his daughter in the sales office and he was selling like tickets to GrowthCon and she sold one. She ended up making like 14 calls or something like that. And the ticket was like $5,000. And he was like, how much money did you make off of that one call? And she's like, well, $5,000. She's like, no, like you made 14 calls. So you made $5,000 divided by 14 calls is $350 or whatever it was. He's like, so if you look at it like that, every time you launch an ad, on the 27th ad, if that's the one that crushes, like you spent like that much time and money, but then at the end of the day, when you made all the profit and you spent all the time, then do the math.
Once you hit that winner, you can hit all of that money that you've spent in a month. You can make that profit in a day within like 3 days of finding your winner. Like you 100% can.
I think all the losses over the last 2 years were covered in a day.
Yeah, even through like drop shipping and everything like that.
Oh yeah, everything. It's crazy.
So do you want to run us through this, the one change that led from, like an average campaign, average performance to then, first $1,000 day, 2,000, 3,000 and so on?
Yeah, definitely the hook. Following the evolution method is to start. Like you want to start with completely different scripts because you don't want to be making these minor tweaks if you don't know if it's even good yet. So you want to really kind of like come out. I think you had something in a presentation one time where you had like a color spectrum and you were showing that, okay, like there was like in the red and then there was like the blue and the purple, whatever it was. And you could very visually see how different they were. So if you approach it that way with your scripts, maybe the angles are totally different. One's more of a, problem focused or problem solution type ad. The other one is more like curiosity driven. And the other one is more about just like all about the desire or the promise or the mechanism or something. There's different angles that you approach it with. That's the best way to start because you want to see which one has legs. And I determine that by like usually the CTR and the CPC at the start. It just makes it very clear at the end of the day, like, okay, well, this actually makes sense. Like this could definitely work. Like, and leave like the offer to be like the main variable, like assuming you've done everything to get to that point.
Well, I think what you said 100% is, it's always keeping in mind those KPIs because a lot of people run an ad and they won't look at the KPIs. They'll just think, oh, this ad's going to make money. This ad's going to make money. But you really want to be focusing on the KPIs. They're like the goalposts for you to find a winner. And every time you evolve the ad, it's why we call it the evolution method. Every time you evolve the ad, every time you get a better hook, a better opening scene, you're going to see incremental changes in performance. You're going to see them get better and closer to the KPIs. And also really important thing that you touched on as well is like having a good landing page CTR. Because you could have the best stats in the world on the front end, but if you're getting 20% of people, you're getting a 20% landing page click-through rate, you're like cutting your chances of making a sale by thirds. So if you have, and this is why it's so simple to, turn a campaign that's kind of average into a campaign that's a winner. Because if you're getting like 30% CTR on your landing page and you're breaking even, if you get that to 60%, you've doubled the sales, which means you've doubled the ROI, and then you can turn that into a winner like that.
Yeah, I think another thing too, for people struggle, definitely me, like as a creative person, is try to take the creative hat off when you're done with the video. And when you're running ads, put the media buying hat on. Like you want to leverage both sides of your brain. You want to be just the math guy, like at that point, just looking at the numbers. Like, does this work or does this not? Like, don't fall in love with the ads. Like we say this stuff all the time, right?
Something else when you're watching this, listening to this is like come into this realizing, if this sounds a little bit too techie for you, take a step back and tell yourself this is easy. Tell yourself this is easy because even though we're talking about all these acronyms, KPIs, CTRs, landing page, it might sound a little bit techie for you now, but I guarantee you, if you just take a moment to just like listen to what we're saying, it's actually very, very simple because there's only really three parts to the actual business. There's literally only three parts to the business. You got your ad, you got your landing page, and you got your offer. And the only things that you really need to focus on are the ad and the landing page. So if you can focus on following the evolution method and following the course to create a good ad, to create a good landing page, using all the tools, all the resources that we have, it becomes very simplified, but doesn't mean it's, that easy, right? It's not super easy, but it is very simple. So once you conceptualize it, then it becomes super easy. Then it becomes really like understandable.
I'd argue that maybe 90% of the people watching this have done significantly more complex stuff at their jobs. So like just the opportunity is just so great because it's such a small, tight, narrow focus that you have to get good at, which is so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And then if you could do that, the return on that is just so high just for that one skill set. And I always say like sending businesses new customers or new leads will never go out of business. That will never die. So what you're building today, you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. And it's just a very valuable skill set to get great at.
And speaking on that, let's touch on a little bit about like the mindset around money and the sort of shift that you've had. So like back when you were a musician, were you ever stressed about money?
I wasn't in that position. I always made enough just to cover the bills. I just was always just banking on that happening. And I just didn't allow my mind to be consumed by anything else. So I think that was one thing I was always good at, just keeping the blinders on and just doing things my own way and just getting by. It was never a huge struggle, but like I was not, thriving by any means. But I just, like I said, I needed to be forced to this mindset, to get to kind of this point when things kind of happen the way they did. But the mindset shift is humongous. I mean, I think that's, if we're talking 80-20, I mean, I think that's the biggest shift because the skills are really just more of a prerequisite. You need to have the mindset in order to plunge through kind of the difficulties and what it takes. But given that, I mean, it is probably the simplest business model there is. So I wouldn't say there's so much on your plate from that perspective, but you're going to be going through new things. You're going to have new fears, and that's going to tell you that you're going in the right direction.
And now that you've done the process, you've had a winner, you've scaled up, like how confident are you moving forward that like you're always going to be able to find a winner?
I'm supremely confident. I just know I could do it again. It's not even a thought or a belief. I just know I'm going to do it next time. And it's just like that laser focus and just having done it before, that's a real gift once you're able to achieve that, because then you know it's going to have that compounding effect.
And that's what these videos I try to get across to a lot of people, is like to try to incorporate that mindset of someone that has had that success, that has gone through that process, that maybe only is just like a couple steps ahead of someone else, to instill that like that they too can have this massive success that you're having. Like everyone is able to achieve it with this business model as long as they don't give up.
100%.
How have you found, the extra resources that we provide, like the AI tools, the, landing page templates, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, the landing page templates are great. That's so easy because I'm not a page builder. I don't do any of that stuff. And just being able to like literally just duplicate, and then just get better at finding the image kind of creatives and just changing the headlines is huge. The whole thing, it's very simple in the way that it's laid out, and it's really easily digestible. And like it's like kind of the same thing as we were talking about. It's like your only focus is the marketing. It's not even any design. Like it's so drilled down to like, hey, like copy, video, lander, like that's it.
Yeah. And, I think what you touched on there is pretty good as well, because, we're creating a video ad, but it's not some high production video where you're not even in the video. So a lot of people might think, oh, I'm gonna have to create a video, but it's so simple, especially with like the AI tools.
Yeah. So you literally just use a search term to bring up a scene, right? So like it might be like, senior couple on the couch laughing or whatever, probably simpler than that. And then you type that into Canva or VidBot or InVideo, whatever you're using, just pulls up a selection of scenes that's based off of your search query. And then you literally just click it, you drag it, and then that's it.
Yeah, awesome. And so obviously people have been seeing you on your journey of trying to make it, and then you finally hit that breakthrough. So let us into that sort of.
Yeah, it just feels like, getting to the top of the mountain, man. Like just that is such a feeling. Like it's just incredible, man. Like it's like how many people are going to be experiencing this, like doing these types of days, in their life. It's a small percentage. So like but it was a long time coming. And like it really just felt incredible to just share that with people who were like rooting for me. And like even in all the down periods and all of this stuff, like that's what you really start thinking about, like what it took, the journey. That's how you really appreciate it. But my favorite response by far was my mother. So I was telling her, this was actually like last Friday or something like that, but it was my first like 10K day. And I was at like 7, but I knew the way that the day was going. And I was on the phone with her. And I was like, yeah, like, things are going really well. Like I'm probably going to hit like 10K like at the end of the day. And I asked her, I was like, I asked her before that, I was like, what's your record? Because she owns a hair salon. And, they do really well over there. She was like, oh, like, like 5,000-6,000, I think was our best day. I was like, man, like it just blew my mind. You just think of like brick and mortar businesses and like their best days, right? And I was like, it just seems like this is going to be happening now all the time. And it did, like 7 days later. So I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to be hitting 10K today. And I ended up hitting 12 when I woke up. But just to that reaction, like when she heard that, she was like, said these words, Vin, are you sure? And I was just like, yeah, man, this is pretty crazy.
And that for some people, it's like, bro, are you sure you didn't mean to say like a month or something?
Yeah, it's totally real.
So what was that desire? Like, what was your why that kept pushing you to like have your breakthrough?
There was so many. I mean, like just having gone through what I've gone through with the band and like wanted to do something my own way, experiencing like shitty jobs, just not nowhere near the income that I wanted. Just the burning desire of seeing this program come out and then being like, you're involved, Gary's involved. And I'm like, damn, like this ain't happening this time. I'm getting involved in this and this is going to work. I don't care how long it takes, but this is going to work. And like, it was all those like forces kind of come together.
Yeah. What were some of those forces? You said there was like a lot of forces coming at you at that time, and, there was a lot of, emotions behind your why. Like, what were some of those?
Yeah. So definitely doubt and like belief. I think Hormozy said this one time. It's something about like the only difference between you and making $1 million a year are the things that you don't know that make $1 million a year. But like sometimes you even know them or you hear them and you believe them, but then the belief starts to run out. Like when it doesn't happen for you, maybe sometimes soon enough, you're kind of just like you don't believe it. And it's like, wait a minute, like that's like an issue, right? Like especially if you hear something from you guys or in like a Q&A call or like, one of the mentors or a student who's successful, like they're not trying to just lie to you or just tell you something. They're just speaking from their experience. And like you should probably like think about that and just take that into account and just relentlessly like just attack it in that direction and not think it's anything more complicated because it's not.
Yeah, well, I remember way back in the day when you probably watched my interview like 4 or 5 years ago. The biggest shift for me was like the belief, right? Belief, like once you have full belief, it's like, all right, now I just need to have my actions match that. And I remember back in the day, young Chris Reader, I don't know, I was like 17, I was like 18 or something, 18 or 19. And I launched 3 ads. And then I went downstairs to play video games or something at the time. And then it clicked in my mind. I was like, well, if I actually believe this is going to work, what would that version of me be doing right now? And I ran back upstairs and I launched like 10 ads. And then the next day I woke up with a winner and I was like, wow. So it's like that, I think, is such a powerful story because it's like once your like actions match your belief, then that can become your reality. And that's like what you said, like evidence and conviction equals like confidence, right?
I remember that story.
This links really well into like, my next question for you, which is what is like the biggest piece of advice that you would give to some students that are like looking to join the course or are currently in the course doing the method?
Yeah, so like I have two pieces of advice. So one would be more like tactical, and we kind of got into that already. Like I think the biggest thing is don't overthink it. Just don't overthink it. Don't like if you have evidence of something, if somebody tells you something who's achieved a result before, just believe them. Like they're not trying to steer you the wrong way, man. Like this is a great community. The other advice that I have that's like a little bit more like esoteric is, I'm a law of attraction guy. I know you are too. You speak about that a lot. What I found is that like you attract in life not what you want, but what you are. So if you become the person that is, like deserving of the goal of the benefits, then the money is just going to be a byproduct of who you are. You just need to like continue going, like build your discipline, like your patience, your consistency, like overcome the fears, like the personal growth. That was the missing piece for me. It's just critical. That's going to give you the conviction to then just do this again and then just duplicate it and just really change your life with the new skill set and the new person that you've become.
And that's why I think the biggest like mantra that we have is, take massive action, stay laser focused and never give up, because they're all vital elements to having success in any endeavor in life.
Yeah. And they say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right.
We talk about mindset and, law of attraction and stuff like that. You don't have to fully adopt that to have success, but you will realize that some of the mindset things are important. And that's why I've created the evolution method, because again, I'm very analytical. So I'm like, all right, I'm just always trying to find the straight line path to whatever my goal is. And so the evolution method is literally like the staircase to success, because it's like, if as long as you follow the steps in the evolution method that are discussed, like you did, and you laid out how you followed those steps, each one of those is a stepping stone. Each one of those is like the next step, the next step, the next step, until you reach the top of the staircase or the top of the mountain, as you said, and have that winner.
Yeah, I always felt that your training specifically too in the courses just provided a lot of clarity because you're I could tell where that comes from now that you just said you look for the straight line towards the goal, because you just weed out all the nonsense. Like it's very simple and that's super helpful just to create clarity for people.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah. And so what are your goals now? So what's your like 6 months goal? What's your 12-month goal?
Yeah, so I want to do a big push to go for diamond. Like I don't really care about. I mean, I care about the ROI, obviously, but that's kind of the big push. I think that would be a great opportunity. And then obviously, just next year, I'll keep it simple. Just kind of beat the high score. Just continue to go. Even if I could just duplicate that result, I mean, that would be fantastic. I was do diamond all the time.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your continued success, and let's see you double your next high score, because like I said, dude, once you have that winner, you can easily scale up. Like you could be doing 20K days, in a couple of days. But I obviously understand the cash flow and stuff. And that's a big thing I also want to emphasize to
It's the
people.
only reason why I'm not. Yeah.
Exactly. the only reason why Vin's not doing like 20, 30, 40, 50K days is, cash flow. And that's nothing to get negative or sad about, because I think a lot of the massive numbers we share can sometimes scare people because they're like, wow, that's like so big. You don't have to be shooting for those huge numbers. Just, do like $1,000 a day and just grow the amount of money you have, grow your credit, and then slowly scale as you scale, right? So I think that's a really also key point.
And you get to the
Mm.
problem, you get to the point where like that's just a really good problem to have. You want to upgrade your problems.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, Vin. Well, man, I really appreciate you jumping on here, and you shared a lot of valuable insights, a lot of gold nuggets that I think a lot of people are going to walk away not only just inspired and motivated, but also they'll have like some tactical things to implement as well. So I really appreciate you jumping on, and it's been awesome to see your success as well. Like you sending me your screenshots of, every time you hit that next big day. So it's been awesome to see your journey, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for jumping on and listening to this interview. If you got all the way through, you definitely got some good insights, and we'll see you guys on the next one.